Welcome back, and I'm delighted to have with me Jane Davidson, who's the Welsh Minister for Environment, Sustainability and Housing. She's going to talk to us about her visionary plans and what she's also already done for the environment in Wales, and being a real leader in this change for taking climate change really seriously across the world. Jane.
Well, thank you. That's such a challenge. Anyway, I suppose, part of the reason that we're here from Wales in Copenhagen is that, Wales as a small country was right at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And I suppose in a sense that, per head of population, we've emitted more than most. And I think it's really important that small industrialised countries like ours should take a lead, should look actively at how we can get emission reductions, and should work with our populations, the length and breadth of Wales, to do so. So we actually agreed back in 2007 to try and get 3% annual reductions a year from 2011 in the areas for which we are responsible. So that's in addition to the emissions that come through the European Emissions Trading Scheme, and that's in addition to work the UK government will do. So we made a very, very as a regional government in Wales to do that. And we've now got a plan to achieve that, and that means that we will be able to achieve an over 40% reduction in Wales by 2020.
That's completely amazing. Many countries have been struggling to achieve something half that, and are really kind of some of the big industrialized countries are really pulling back from that and trying to dilute all that. And here you are as Wales, storming ahead and heading towards the new figures of 45% that the small island states have been asking for, 45% by 2020, which seems really hard. And there you are as Wales, already with those plans in hand.
Well, I can't underestimate the challenge. We've spent 2.5 years working on ensuring that we can deliver the 3% reductions a year. And partly what I hope to be able to do at this conference is to be able to share that work with other small countries, with other regions, in terms of taking action. Because there's so much talk about targets, and every time you agree a target, somebody wants you to have a greater target. And I fully understand the urgency of this, which is why we've worked with the Tyndall Centre, which is attached to the University of Manchester, to look at scenarios of 3% per year, 6% per year and 9% per year reductions. And if you're starting to look at 9%, which is more where the science is, you're looking at so dramatically changing people's ways of life that we need to work with them on starting that process of change.
Could you tell us some practical examples, Jane, of the sorts of change? I know you've had a huge consultative process as well across Wales, and there are kind of good practice groups happening. Could you tell us something about that way of engaging people really from bottom up, even though you've given this leadership? Nonetheless, it has to happen really at the grassroots level. So can you tell us something about these goings on?
Well, I think there are two things there. I think the first one is that Wales also is one of the only countries in the world which has a legal duty to consider sustainable development in everything we do. And actually this has turned out to be incredibly important in this debate, because if you take decisions sustainably, and we're committed to looking at every single decision we take as a government and taking that sustainably, it means that you look towards the future, you look towards your children, your grandchildren, and wanting to make sure that they have a decent world to grow up in the way we take decisions now. And that means we look very hard at our consumption footprint on this planet of ours. And we know that the way we're behaving at the moment in Wales means that we would need at least 2.7 planets when there's only one available. And of course, in other parts of the UK have even greater consumption. So we think that if you use this message, it's very, very important in engaging communities. And what we've found in Wales is that people are very bound up with the idea of bringing their consumption down. And that's critical in this agenda. That it's not just about government saying, be more efficient with your energy or change your energy provider to come off fossil fuels. But that actually we say to people, well, if you stop being a throwaway society, if you start looking at every journey you take, when we know that in the UK, for example, the average length of journey is only 5 miles. Well, how many of those journeys could you car share? How many of those journeys could you get out of your car? Could you make a resolution in the new year about taking perhaps action that leads to a 10% reduction in your own lifestyle? And I think these kind of personal challenges about people in their own lifestyles are just as important as a very clear message from government. But we're focusing very much on the energy efficiency agenda, improving the energy efficiency of houses the length and breadth of Wales. We're focusing also on the fuel poverty agenda, because we know we have more people in Wales in fuel poverty because the incomes are lower and our houses are harder to treat. We're focusing on the transport agenda and the creation of sustainable travel towns. We're focusing on local food growing initiatives, for example. We're looking at business travel in the Assembly government. Can we change the way that we do business? Ministers still need to visit places, but do we all need to go in cars? Can we start putting our meetings in places which are easier to get to by train? Can we start making sure that we video conference more? Are we consuming too much paper? Are we consuming too much water? If we ask ourselves these questions, it's very easy, very, very quickly to come out with answers in our personal lives as well in our political lives that we could make changes. And we decided recently to outlaw effectively single-use carrier bags in Wales. We're going to put a levy on them. And businesses didn't like it. The public have been behind us all the way. And I think that was because right back in 2007, the BBC did a poll and said, what single thing would you like the new Assembly government to do then? And what came out was banning plastic bags. So we've gone with the people of Wales in taking a decision not to ban plastic bags, because that could fall foul of the European Union, but to put a charge on them, and for that charge to go to charities and therefore benefit local charities and local communities. So I think as a small government in a small country, we can often work with people in terms of saying there's fantastically big challenges out there. What we're trying to do, all of us here in Copenhagen, is actually getting a world deal. So a fantastically difficult challenge, but meeting it actually helps us all. And meeting it is actually as well about improving our quality of lives, because it will slow our lives down. It will make sure we get back in touch with people. And Wales is so strong in its communities. And what we're seeing is great community action now in rising to the challenge around renewable energy and others. And I want to see more of that and to see what we can do to support that.